Okay. If I'm being really honest with you today, if I could go back to day one of running my business, I'd do a few things differently. Not because I regret the way I built it, because honestly, every misstep has taught me something that I needed to know. But because there are shortcuts I didn't take, also boundaries that I didn't set, and lessons that I learned the hard way. And so here's the thing. I know some of you are in the messy middle right now, and maybe you're overworked, underpaid even, and wondering, do I even have what it takes to make this thing work? I get it, but you do. And I'm hoping that what I'm about to share will save you, I don't know, maybe a year or two of figuring it out the hard way. This is not, guys, this is not an episode of like, here's a 3-step formula to 7 figures. That's not it today. This is really just me pulling back the curtain on what I wish someone would have told me. This is the stuff you didn't hear in those perfect Instagram captions that we see all over social media. But I'm going to give you my probably 5 biggest lessons, and we're going to frame them as the moves that like I really wished to make sooner if I had to start all over. So let's dive in. Ever wonder what it really takes to build a business and a life that feels like yours? Welcome to That Big CEO Energy. I'm Callie, entrepreneur, operations whiz, and your go-to for the real, raw, and unfiltered side of business and life. Because let's be honest, entrepreneurship isn't just about strategy and success. It's about figuring out who you are in the messy middle, trying new things, well, just because you can, and creating a life that actually fits you. From solo deep dives to candid convos with powerhouse business owners, we're talking all about the highs and the lows and the why did no one warn me about this moments that come while chasing big dreams. So let's get uncomfortable, embrace the chaos, and make it happen. Here's a fun fact about me. I built my business basically like I was putting out daily fires with a garden hose. Like, truly. I thought, I'll create my systems later, right? I need to focus on my clients now. And once I have more clients, more revenue, more time, all of those things that we tell ourselves, spoiler alert, that later never magically appeared. By the time I hit what I thought was quote unquote success, I was literally buried under my own growth. And so I was manually sending the same onboarding emails. I was hunting for random Canva graphics, like buried in folders called like, I don't know, like I think I had one that said final_final2. What is that, you guys? What is that? That is corporate speak. And then of course, here I am wondering why I feel like a full-time firefighter instead of a CEO, right? Like, but the truth is, systems are not a luxury. They are literally the oxygen inside of your business. And even if we think we're not ready for them, we need to start now. And I was having a conversation with one of my clients the other day, and she's like, oh, I have all of my things put together. She's kind of in the stage where she hasn't quite got clients yet, but she has a little bit of an onboarding process built out, which I think is fantastic. And so we're working with revenue, right? That isn't quite there, but we still need to be mindful about being organized and having an onboarding process that flows and that is easeful so that when she is ramping up, it's just a matter of taking those same things, putting them inside of a system, but the automation, air quotes, is still kind of already there, right? So She knows what is happening and she knows how the onboarding process is flowing, but we're just not using like a robust CRM right now. And that's okay. Sometimes you need to start where you are. But the point of all of that is to say, you need to have a system in place. And by system, we're not talking about the tool that you use, right? There's a clear, distinct difference. A system is your operating procedure, how you do things. Your tool is the way in which it utilizes the system that you have in place and how you build it. So if I had just created my client onboarding process, right? Day one, emails, contracts, payment links, welcome guides, I would have reclaimed hours each week. And I did have that to a certain degree, but a lot of that, again, is manual labor. So again, coming back to this client, we talked about having email templates and utilizing things like our Gmail template function to be able to just, one click load it in there, and then we're just filling in the gaps, right? Like minimizing, even though we don't have a robust system to send something that is automated, we're utilizing the things that are free and available to make our life easier, to still give us back some time. And same with payment links. Like I don't know what I was using, maybe like Wave or something. And, that is very manual. They don't send them automated. Whereas like something like QuickBooks, you can set up a reoccurring thing. So all of this is when you put into place a system and a flow that is easy, you're able to knock out some of those hours. And so the other thing is if I had just started batching content before I needed to, i.e. this podcast, I wouldn't have had those like panic post moments where I'm scrambling for something, anything to put on social media, right? And I think sometimes it's a catch-22 with this, and we all know this. I've talked about this a million times. I don't love social media, and so I have a love-hate relationship with it, and so there are periods where I'm not consistent, and that's okay for me. But if you are a business that thrives on generating sales and generating activities off of your Instagram, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, whatever it is, there has to be a system in place for you to be able to batch content for multiple reasons. One is you need to know what you're talking about, right? And when you just casually throw stuff on Instagram, if that's your jam and it works for you, great. But if you're just casually throwing things on Instagram, if somebody shows up to your page, they don't know what you do. They have no idea, right? So it's little things like that. So an action item for you kind of in this whole entire lesson of systems, don't do what I did. Don't make it this haphazard thing, but also choose one area of your business, whether it's your clients, your contents, your finances, and really just kind of break it down and say, if 20 new people, right, signed up tomorrow, could I handle it without losing my mind? And would it be easy for them that they would have been okay with saying yes to me? And if the answer is no, that's the system that you start working on this week. So systems need to be built before you actually need them, whatever that is. And I think one of the other things for this is stop waiting for perfect. And this one stings a little bit. It does. I have launched offers, programs, products, like years later than I should have, just because I thought they weren't ready. And the truth is that I wasn't ready. But there's this lie that we tell ourselves that the perfect offer will mean perfect results. And the reality is that momentum beats perfection every single time. I'll say that again. momentum beats perfection every single time. One of my earliest offers sat in Google Docs, you guys, for 9 months. 9 months. I could have grown an entire human being at that time. And you know what happened when I finally launched it? It was imperfect, and people still bought it. In fact, they gave me feedback that made it better than anything I could have done alone. And so if I had done that sooner, right, I would have iterated it faster. I would have built trust sooner, and I would have made more money earlier. But instead, I gave perfectionism and fear the keys to the car and just let it drive me right around in circles. And so one of the things with putting together this idea of perfectionism is we often think to ourselves, this little part, whatever it is not ready. So that means I can't do anything else. And that's fear standing in the way, right? And when we let fear take control, it sits on the shelf for 9 months. It doesn't serve us in any way. So here's an action item for you. I want you to pick one thing that you've been sitting on. Maybe it's a course. Maybe it's the podcast, the website, right? Any sort of offer. What is the one thing that has just been gnawing at you that you just keep shoving to the side? And give yourself a 7-day deadline. You could do anything in 7 days. Launch it as a beta, for Pete's sake, right? Like, get real feedback. And remember, you can always upgrade later, but you can't grow into something you never put out there. And pricing. Price for the CEO that you're becoming. This is probably the biggest lesson that I've ever had. This is, when I first started, I was terrified of charging what my work was worth. I thought, you know what? If I keep it low, more people will say yes. You guys, my business is not in the business of having volume. In some areas, yes, I do have offers now where I can take volume. However, my business is very deep work. And I work one-on-one with clients very intimately. And so when I first started, I thought, more is more, right? More is not more in a lot of cases. But you know what happened? I booked more work, yes, but I also booked the wrong clients. I was constantly over-delivering, under-earning, and resenting the very business that I had worked so hard to create, right? Like, we leave corporate because we are overworked. And it's exactly what I had turned myself into. So pricing isn't just about covering your costs, right? It's about building a business that you can sustain without burning out. And it's about setting a standard for the work that you do and the transformation that you create. If I had priced for the CEO that I wanted to be, which is right now, but not the one that I thought that I was allowed to be, I would have had the capacity to grow faster. And here's the kicker. The right clients aren't just willing to pay your rates. They're actually more fun to work with because they value the process. And I'll just say this. I'll just say it. I have potential to make a lot more money. I do. But the clients that I serve, the ones that really, really resonate with me, the ones that I get to build relationships with outside of the work that we do, they don't have a lot of capital to start. They don't have a lot of money that they can just throw around. And so I have to be mindful of that. And that's one of the things too, that when you look at kind of the desirable clients that you want in your wheelhouse, sometimes you have to come up with other things to compensate for the bulk of the work that you're not doing. like my membership, for example, like my free things, like my podcast, right? Like all of these things that I do outside of working with my one-on-one clients is revenue generating activities so that I get to pick and choose the clients that I get to work with, right? Like I get to say to myself, does this client align with who I am? And am I going to resent this decision later? I didn't do that in the very beginning. I took whatever was available. I took whoever said yes. And then the more that I said yes, the more I resented my business. And it was awful. You guys, it was truly awful. And I had gotten to the point where I said to my husband that I think I want to go back to a job. I didn't want to do that. That was fear. And that was this overarching desire to want something different and want something more. So I started weeding people out. I started not renewing contracts. I started saying no, like, you're not a good fit for me. Sometimes it took me a little bit later to realize that, and that's okay. But again, the right clients aren't just willing to pay your rates. They're more fun to work with because they value the process that you have and the expertise and the zone of genius that you live in. And so for me specifically, in the work that I do everything that they can't do because they need to be the CEO. They need to be the visionary. They need to step into their zone of genius. And they can't be worried about what is happening behind the scenes, or are things firing okay, or are things triggering okay, and how things work. And they should be informed on how things work. But the actual doing part, they don't need to be doing that. And so my action for you is to take one offer and raise the price today. I don't care if it's 10%, but test it for your next 3 sales calls and see what happens. There is a theory that you stop raising your prices when you start getting no's. And to a degree, I do agree on that. But if you can confidently deliver on the transformation, you can confidently raise the price. And don't be ashamed about it. There are so many people out there making thousands and millions of dollars, and they are not selling value. They're just selling. And so I know in my heart of hearts, if you are a service provider, if you love on people, you are concerned about value and you're concerned about doing right by the people that you work with. And so that's where this tussle of not wanting to raise your prices comes in. So just do it by 10%, even if it's like an odd number, right? Like say, I don't know, say your package is, we'll just say $1,000, for instance. Now it's $1,100, right? Like an extra $100, that doesn't feel too crazy. But think about what you have done if you do it across your 10 clients that you have sitting. You've just given yourself $1,000 pay increase, right? Revenue increase, not a pay increase for that matter. But you understand what I'm saying. This next lesson, you guys, protect your time like your revenue depends on it. Should I say it again for the people in the back? Protect your time like your revenue depends on it. There was a season where my Google Calendar looked like a Jackson Pollock painting. Like if you don't know who Jackson Pollock is, he's a famous painter and he makes beautiful things. But it was just like color everywhere with like no white space inside. That's what my Google Calendar looked like. Some weeks it still gets like that, but it is what it is. But I said yes to literally everything. Oh, you want to go get a coffee? Oh, you want to network? Oh, you want to collab? Oh, every client, like, oh, you just want a quick call? Oh, like it was insane. It was insane. I wasn't getting any work done. You guys, my clients depend on me to get back end work done. How was I getting any work done when I just had like meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting? Sometimes I was meeting with clients multiple times during the week. Sometimes I still do if we're working on a bigger project. But the actual problem, was that I was running on fumes. And I was working from sunup to sundown. I was working on weekends. And that is the point where my husband was like, hey, lady, over here, you know? But the truth is, like, your time is the most valuable currency that we have in life, in family, in business, as a CEO. And every yes that you say has a hidden price tag. I'm going to link the podcast that I just did about saying no, because I think that that is valuable. Every yes has a hidden price tag. And so I learned that I needed CEO time. I needed hours to be able to block off for my own business, which included like strategy, vision casting, and working on the business, not just in it. And these hours had to be non-negotiable. They had to be something that I said, no matter what, this is the day, this is the time, this is whatever that I am working on my business. And usually that is Friday for me. Sometimes it's Monday. It's whatever now I'm getting really good at. It's whenever I know I can fit it in. But the key here is I know that I need it and I'm blocking off time to do it. I'm not blocking off time and then filling it with something else. I see a lot of calendars out there where they have it blocked off and then there's meetings that are able to schedule over top of that. Stop doing that. Stop it. Stop it right now. So now I literally protect all of my time like they are a high ticket client when working on CEO time. CEO time is a high ticket client. You want to know why? Because everything I do in my business needs to be of value like a high ticket client. Nobody gets that time but me. So if you are working on your calendar and you are scheduling meetings over top of your CEO time, stop it. Stop it right now. But if you don't have CEO time carved out and label it as that, right? This is my CEO time. I don't care if you're day 1 of your business or if you're day 10. You are a CEO of your company. Pick one morning a week, one afternoon, one evening, whenever your best work is done, and make it your CEO time. Put it on the calendar and make it so nobody can schedule. And guard it, you guys. Guard it like your business depends on it. Because it does. Okay, the last lesson. Are you ready for it? I wish I had leaned into a community sooner. This is most recent for me, and I love it. And I know that she listens to this podcast, so shout out to Sarah from My Sunrise Phoenix. But when I first started my business, I thought like I had to figure it all out by myself. And the reality is that entrepreneurship is really, really lonely. I didn't want to like bother anyone. You don't want to bother anyone. And if you are in a community like mine, you do have small business owners, which is lovely, but there's nowhere for you to gather. Like there's nowhere to build a community. And I'm not sure why. Maybe I'll figure that out and start that in my town someday. But I just stayed in my little bubble, mainly because most of the people in my family don't own businesses. So they don't really understand how lonely it can be. And if I were to say things about like business building or other types of scenarios, they probably would look at me cross-eyed. My husband is really good at listening. He is. And he's actually really, really good. I mean, I think he should own his own business someday, but he is actually really good about helping me figure it out, which is lovely, but not a lot of people have that. And so it really starts to get lonely. And here I am, right on my phone in the beginning stages, Googling answers. And I really think that I was making the mistakes that someone else could have helped me avoid in 5 minutes. But I didn't have a community. And so the moment that I started surrounding myself with other business owners and leaning into some of the other things that my clients were doing, even like online communities, casual accountability groups, I used to, and most recently have started again, getting on co-working. And, I host co-working every now and again, but everything started to shift when I did that. And what happened is I started to make better decisions faster. And I learned from other people's mistakes instead of always making my own. I didn't feel so alone in the hard seasons. And sometimes, business is hard. And so I know that if I had leaned into a community sooner, I definitely would have saved myself with so much unnecessary stress. So that's an action item for you here is join a community this month, whether it's like a mastermind, whether it's a co-working group, or maybe it's an online membership. I host the collective membership, and in that membership, we have accountability, we have strategy sessions. And so if that's something that you want to do, there's a link in my show notes. But when you join, show up. Again, it's that CEO time, right? Like this is my time to work on myself. But also when you show up, ask questions. Ask the questions. No question is a dumb question, right? We learned that in school. But also offer support because you are so wise. And something that maybe you are doing inside of your business is something that somebody else is struggling with. Again, even if you are on day one, you know a lot. You know a lot and enough to want to be in business in the first place and to start doing it messy. So you know things. You have nuggets of information. Don't let them go to waste. But that's where the magic happens, is inside small communities. Listen, if I could whisper one thing, just one thing to day one of me, it would be this. You're allowed to build this your way sooner. You're allowed to build this your way sooner. You don't have to earn the right to set boundaries. You don't have to wait until burnout to raise your prices. You don't have to keep doing everything the hard way just because you can. But these 5 lessons, the systems, the imperfection action, the future focus pricing, time protection, and community are all the ones that I'd put on the CEO cheat sheet for anyone starting today. And honestly, I'm still practicing them every single day, right? What is your business if it's not evolving every single day? And I always say that when your business is in this push and pull and it feels really, really hard, that's a growing pain. And it's calling you to do something different. Being a CEO isn't about having it all figured out. It's not. It's about knowing how to course correct when you don't have it figured out. So whatever stage you're in, I want you to take one of these lessons and put it into action this week. And please know that your future self is so much gonna thank you. See you in the next one. Hey friend, thanks for hanging out with me today. If something in this episode clicked for you, I want you to shoot me a DM over on Instagram. The link is in the show notes. Let's chat about how you're making the messy middle work for you. If you loved what you heard, would you mind sharing this episode with a friend who needs to hear it too? And drop a quick review if you don't mind. It helps get the word out, and I appreciate it more than you know. Catch you in the next one.